All right, folks. So pretty short review this time around. Only a few cards, but a couple big legendaries here. Two, the new mercenaries have been revealed. Up first is Varden Dawngrasp, a new 4-mana mage legendary, 3/3 body, and Battlecry freeze all enemy minions. If any are already frozen, deal 4 damage to them instead. So, pretty nifty card here. It's basically a Frost Nova with a body attached. And of course, Frost Nova has been a great mage card historically. And on top of that, it's a Frost Nova with a body attached with additional upside. If you have any frozen stuff already, this could serve as like an old school Flame Strike as well to the board. So, a pretty nifty card. I think good on its own in many cases when you just need to stall out a board to buy some time to do whatever other thing, initiate some kind of game plan down the road. This gets you a turn. And then if you've already cast a Blizzard or maybe the new card Flurry, the ranked spell for Mage that 0 mana frees some random minion stuff, this might be a good way to kill off those minions as well. So I like it a lot. I think that's great. I will say there's a little bit of risk here that Mage doesn't have a deck that's really able to successfully utilize freezes. If we think back, right, like the times Frost Nova were best is with things like Burn Mage, a freeze mage that wants to do a ton of burst damage, and they just need to stall out the game until they find enough to combo you down or kill you over a couple turns. If that doesn't exist, cards like Frost Nova aren't as useful necessarily. Sometimes just stalling out for a turn isn't enough. You really need to kill stuff and react in a big way. I hope that the second half of Varden's Battlecry gets this card over the hump there, essentially, where sometimes it can be the piece that clears off the board instead of just stalling the board. And having that dual utility is probably rather nice. And I will note, we've seen some hints of other like freeze package cards. There was the Glacier Racer, I think it is, in the Darkmoon Races. And if we get a few more of those, that's a nice little freeze control reaction sort of package here where you can really keep your opponent's board locked down and keep it in check. Even outside of that, I think Varden, just locking down a board and developing a minion might just be enough sometimes on its own to find a way into other decks as well. So I really do like this card quite a bit. It's not going to go in every mage deck, but I think there will be a handful where this makes a lot of sense and it feels like a pretty powerful play on occasion. Moving on to Tavish Stormpike here for Hunter, new mercenary legendary minion. He's a 3-mana 2/5, and he reads, after a friendly beast attacks, summon a beast from your deck that costs 1 less. So pretty interesting card here that could really chain into some crazy turns. So, imagine you've got a Tavish Stormpike on board and you say have a Trampling Rhino that gets played or even summoned. It doesn't have to be played. Trampling Rhino attacks because it's got Rush, kills something. That's going to summon you a 4-drop. Maybe it's a Mok'Nathal Lion that's in your deck. And that's going to run in and attack because it has Rush. And that's going to pull a Zixor out of your deck. And the Zixor is going to run in and attack. And that's going to pull some random 2-drop. And that's going to pull some 1-drop, etc., etc. So you could really snowball this into a pretty crazy board swing with a bunch of rushing minions. Of course, you have to have rush minions if they're going to attack immediately. This isn't on attack trigger, so they're not rush minions. You're not going to keep the chain going. And on top of that, you may not even need an entire chain all the way down from 5 mana down to 1 or something. Maybe just 1 or 2 minions is enough to make Tavish worth it because you're getting cool minions summoned into play basically for free or at the very low overhead cost of 3 mana for Tavish himself. Now, I do think this is really interesting with Tavish's ranked spell Tame Beast. I was a little underwhelmed by that one, but in combination with Tavish, it starts to make a lot more sense because that's only a 2-mana spell. You could play that in combination with Tavish on the 5-mana turn. That's going to summon you a 4/4, which is a 4-mana beast. And that's going to attack because it has Rush. That's going to maybe get that Zixor out of your deck. And that alone for 5 mana means you might get 3 or 4 minions in play right there, ready to go on 5 mana at a perfect synergy sort of play. There are also scenarios where I think you could probably just dump Stormpike on board for 3 mana. He's a 2/5. He's going to stick on occasion, especially if you've already played some minions and have kept your opponent's board, at least moderately in check. He might stick, and then you could just play on curve a 4-drop follow-up as well. So crazy, crazy potential as well. Maybe some OTK potential. There's all kinds of stuff. And this is probably why Tundra Rhino not a part of the core set, because that would really make things nuts, because it's going to give every future beast the ability to attack immediately. So anyway, to talk about the downsides here for Tavish, of course, you have to build your deck in a way to support this, which means you need enough beasts at certain mana break points, and they probably need to be able to attack immediately to really reward Tavish. Otherwise, you're going to play him and he's not going to feel great because you just didn't hit the beast you needed. It wasn't there. And that's going to make him a pretty awful play, you know, if your deck's not constructed to support it a majority of the time. That could be a problem. Like if there's just not enough rush beasts, or the mana breakpoints don't work out, or if you kind of feel like you have to run bad cards just to support Tavish, those are all problems he could run into. So I'm intrigued. I think there's a beast rush hunter deck that's like shuffling beasts back into your deck with Dire Frenzy and summoning all these things, where Tavish has enough ammunition to make the cut. I don't think he'll necessarily be the star or the reason that deck exists, but I think he'll have some big turns that do win games on occasion, which will make him worth running for sure. And then finally here, the Blood Shard Bristleback, a new Warlock minion, a 3-mana 3/3 with Lifesteal and Battlecry. If your deck contains 10 or fewer cards, deal 6 damage to a minion. So this is intriguing. We've seen some destroy your deck cards, or a card already. The 5 damage AoE soul something, I forget the name already. But you know, it deals 5 damage to the board, and any minions that die, you destroy a card in your deck. And we already talked at great length about that one in my previous review. That's not necessarily always a bad thing. And in fact, with a card like this, it could be a great thing, because you could get a really powerful tempo swing card here with a Blood Shard Bristleback, because clearly dealing 6 damage to a minion on a 3-drop is awesome. This can kill stuff even in the late game. And that Battlecry is going to have Lifesteal, so that's a big 6 health heal as well, which if you're pushing yourself closer to fatigue because you're destroying your own deck, might be nice sometimes to have a heal once you get to that fatigue state. So you could really see a deck coming together here that's able to play all of these very powerful cards. Like 4 mana, deal 5 to the board, that's a powerful effect. And that's going to play into this card, which is a very efficient and powerful effect for a 3 mana card as well. And if you hit a critical mass of all these different cards that are playing really nicely off of you destroying your own deck, you're probably going to get to a point where you've just played so much better stuff than your opponent that you win the game before you like die to fatigue or gas out, whatever it might be. You just swing hard enough and you exhaust them. And you have Ticketus on your side too, so you can destroy the opponent's deck as well, probably in these scenarios. You got Envoy Rustwicks to reload your deck, so on and so forth. I think it kind of makes sense. It's coming together in my mind as a pretty interesting deck archetype. Some kind of like fatigue, destroy your own cards, Warlock to play these really powerful things. The question is, will they be powerful enough to reward that all-in sort of gameplay? I think maybe. This is a great card. I mean, healing 6, clearing something, keeping the lifesteal on board afterwards, that seems pretty strong to me. So this is probably one of those like all or nothing archetypes where it's either going to work amazingly and it's going to seem awesome, or it's just going to fail completely. We've seen a few of those for Warlock and certainly other classes in the past, but I'm kind of rooting for this one. I sort of think it makes sense, and cards like this, the numbers are just so strong and it's so efficient that it feels like it's going to pay off. Varden Dawngrasp is a 4-star card. Tavish Stormpike is a 4-star card. Blood Shard Bristleback is a 4-star card. And that wraps it up for this review. I told you it was a short one. I've gotten so many 4-star cards. I know that the meme is everything's a 3-star card, which there are a lot of 3-star cards. That's real life. That's real Hearthstone. A lot of 3-star cards. But this time I'm gonna give it everything 4 stars. I don't know what it is, but maybe we're just seeing a good batch of strong cards. Maybe the scores will level out a little more over time. But right now I'm 4-star Regis meme. All those 4 stars. Anyway, do you guys think these are 4-star cards? They're gonna be better, worse, meta defining, or totally unplayable? I think most of you are hating this destroy your own deck Warlock. So I'm curious to hear counter takes on Blood Shard, Bristleback, and company. But until then, thanks much as always for joining me for these card reviews. And until next time, game on.